Yeah, hello guys. Good evening. I hope we all are doing very well. So please let me know if you can hear me, guys. All right. So thank you very much. So let's just wait for 3 more minutes. So by 7:05 we will proceed. Okay. So let's just wait for 3 minutes for those that are not here. So I hope everybody's fine though. All right, guys. Good evening. I hope everybody is doing very well. Please, I trust you all can hear me, and I hope you guys practice our last demonstration, our last practical. I hope you guys got to practice it in your free time, right? So today we are yeah. So let me go through the comments before we move for today. Yes, Boluwatife Joy. I'm also happy we all have made it so far. This is the 8th week. Uh, Yeah, that's worth celebrating. Yeah, okay. So let's move to our agenda for today. So as usual, here is my profile. My name is Emmanuel Akobi Ajibolu, pen tester, Christian, informations like that. I work for an organization here in Abuja with the name Cybersecurity, and I'm a graduate of Federal University of Technology, Mina, like that. So let's move. So today we are talking about cloud security. So yes, it's going to be an interesting class, right? Because I know a lot of us like it when the class is all about discussion and stuff. And as we proceed, we are going to try as much as possible to make sure that I demonstrate a few things on how we can secure the cloud, right? So we'll be touching a few practical, but then I want to give you heads up because in order to practice on the cloud, you definitely need subscription, right? So it might be a whole lot harder for some of you to follow along with me. So for that, we most likely will be doing our alternative to practical slide style, right? Where I'm going to have screenshots and I'm going to be explaining what is happening. And if possible, we also do the demonstration together. Yes, so if this is your first time of hearing about cloud, please let me know. If you know a few things about cloud also, please feel free to write it in the comment section. So I will be going through the comment section to look at a few our comments, and then after that we will proceed with what we have for today. So we have a lot to cover today. So let's try as much as possible to move with the speed of light. Okay, so Boluwati first says this is our first time of hearing about cloud. All right, all right. Okay, Christiana, I actually know nothing about cloud. I really want to learn. Yes, that's why we are here. That's why we are here. Trust me. Okay, Jesugbe Misola, not my first time. All right, so Jesugbe Misola, can you tell us what you know about cloud? Hello, Elsie. Okay, Adefioye, nice, nice. Cloud on iPhone. Yes, so we'll be busting a few myths tonight, right? Whenever people hear about cloud, some people think maybe there's something in the sky that is holding our data. So we'll be looking, is that actually what is happening? We'll be looking at that today. All right, all right. Gifts, that's why I'm here. I'm here to make you know more about the cloud. Okay, Oluwafemi, cloud is simply saving document on the server, not right where you are, saving on the web. All right, nice, nice. Thank you very much, Oluwafemi. Jane, I heard about it before, but not in the context of cybersecurity. Okay, you could also tell us what you know. In what context do you know? Do you know of cloud? Okay. Obin Winning, heard but don't know. Okay, cool. That's why we're here. Okay, that's why we're here, guys. This is who is this? Blessing. That's why we are here. We are here to teach you that happiness, peace, or good do, right? I don't know, but let me try. Cloud security is the process of securing files or anything tangible for future reference. I mean, this makes sense. This makes sense. This makes sense. All right. Hot topic cloud is where you host your files or information. Okay, okay. Nicole, good evening also. Pamela cloud security protect data and systems in the cloud from threats. Yes, well said, Pamela. Well said. Titilayo, more like a remote storage for files and information on servers. All right, most people are talking about cloud from the context of storage. we'll be looking at it at with a more holistic view tonight. Okay, I like what Elsie is saying. Cloud is saving on air. Yes, yes, that's what a lot of people think. That's what a lot of people think. Good evening, Nicole. Good evening, Grace. Okay. I love this. I love this from Uni Consola. Cloud is like a virtual space that stores data and information. Yes, yes, this is true. And I like the fact that you add the word virtual, right? I like the fact that you add the word virtual, right? Although cloud is, we are going to be looking at it today, that cloud is more than just storage. Okay. All right. Oh, thank you very much, Jesu Solar. Beautiful. AWS Cloud, S3 Bucket, VPS, EC2. Just Solar, it seems you've attended AWS class before now. All right. Cecile is saying iCloud for iOS. Yes, that's very true. Yes, iCloud for iOS. In fact, a lot of people know about cloud from the context of iOS, right? From iPhone. Yes. Okay, so without much further ado, let's move forward. Thank you all for the comments. Let's move. Okay, so we are going to be looking at it from the context of history, right? I want us to carry out this class like a storytelling class, right? So we all can understand what exactly cloud is, then we all can also appreciate the technology called cloud technology, right? So in the early days, we used to have what we call on-prem servers, right? I'm sure a lot of us can relate with this, right? In the early days of computing, organizations relied heavily on-premises servers and infrastructure, right? This era was characterized by the following features, right? Physical hardwares, right? So we had a lot of physical hardwares. Companies invested in physical servers, companies invested in storage devices, networking hardware, all housed within the office, right? So let's say you're an IT company and you want to set up your server, right? Server in the context of storage, server in the context of space, and maybe you want to set up networking hardware and all those things. You have to get a couple of hardware. Now, when I say hardware, these are like physical materials that you can touch, right? And most times these things are very, very expensive. So that is how things used to be. So before, I mean, let's say you have a website that you want to host, you have to go and buy a server, then you bring it to your house, you connect it to lights, and then you make sure that, I mean, if you're in Nigeria, you already know that that is already a disadvantage if you are connecting it to lights, because over here electricity is not so stable, right? And then you have to make sure that the system has 247 internet, right? Then you now expose this to every other person on the web, right? So you do everything by yourself. But in this generation now, we have people called what do we call them? We have hosting services, right? We have hosting services that you just build your website and then you give it to them, and then they will help you to put it online for other people to see. So I'm trying to build something. I'm telling a story so we all can understand how what things look like and how we came about the concept of cloud technology, right? Also, it was characterized by dedicated data centers. So large organizations built and maintained their own data center. I'm sure we've heard of data centers before now, right? That's where a lot of data are being kept, requiring significant capital expenditure for infrastructure, power, cooling, and security. So imagine in this generation, we have a lot of small and medium-sized businesses, right? And imagine you are just starting a company, maybe you're a Nigerian, just starting a company, and you, in this generation, if you have, let's say, 500,000 naira, you can start your own ICT company, you can start your own tech company. But before, right, when you start thinking of buying server, buying expensive stuff, trust me, 2 million naira, then in this our current um with this our current exchange rates, 2 million, 10 million naira is not enough. So this is a problem that we needed a way to overcome, right? Because to start something in ICT can be very expensive, since you have to set up your own data center, right? Then there's also manual management, right? So for this, IT staffs were responsible for manual installation, configuration, and maintenance of hardware and software, leading to high operational overhead, right? So now, I mean, we have a lot of people in tech, right, that are not doing technical stuff, right? Even in this cybersecurity domain, we still have people that are not so technical. But before, right, if you want to have digital assets, you need either you gain the technical knowledge or you have staffs, right? You have people that have the manual, the technical knowledge to do installation, to do configuration, to do maintenance, all this hardware and software stuff. So this is like a lot of problem, right? A lot of problem. Then also for on-prem servers now, there's also limited scalability, right? Scalability is also an issue. Scaling up required purchasing and installing new hardware. It is a time-consuming and expensive process, right? So for these physical servers, let's say like my computer now, let's say my computer is 1 terabyte, right? And maybe I've used up the space. If I want to move up to something bigger than that, then what do? I need to go and get another storage device, which is going to be maybe 2 terabytes, right? So there's no way I can easily just get more space until I go to buy the extra distance. So scaling, this is just in the context of my laptop. So imagine it in the context of big server. Imagine it in the concept of a big server, right? It is definitely going to be more expensive. So then overall, this has what high initial cost. So like I was explaining, if somebody is just starting ICT, right, it is going to be very expensive because you have to buy a lot of things from the start, right? From the start, that is from on-prem systems, right? From on-prem server, you have to buy a lot of things, right? So significant upfront investment in hardware, software licenses, and also skilled personnel. So you have to employ the right set of persons, right, to be able to maintain this on-prem server. Okay, so having explained this now, after a while, we had something called virtualization. So just like we discussed in one of our class, right? A technology called virtualization came about, right? So as technology advanced, the concept of virtualization emerged, bringing several improvements. So first of all, we now had in that instance in time, we had what we call virtual machines. It was possible to have virtual machines. So let's go back in time to when everything was still on-prem. So let's say you needed 6 operating system. What you would have done is to buy 6 different servers, right, and install different operating system in them. Now, the fact that you buy 6 different servers for different operating system doesn't mean that the operating system is using all of those resources. That means, oh, you might buy a server that is quite expensive. Maybe you buy a server for ₦1 million, and at the end of the day, the only thing you are using out of that server is equivalent to maybe 100,000 naira. That means 900,000 naira is wasting. Okay, so when virtualization came, then the concept of virtual machine was bettered. So virtual machine, right, is when you can actually virtualize machines or operating system inside one physical hardware. So that means, oh, before when I had to buy 6 different servers for 6 different operating systems, right? That's what I had to do before. But when virtualization came about, it was now possible for me to just buy one server and install 6 different operating systems inside just this one server, right? So let's keep building up with the story. As we proceed, everything will make a whole lot more sense. So virtualization allows multiple virtual machines to run on a single physical server, optimizing hardware utilization and reducing cost. Okay, so you didn't it was not required now when virtualization came, it was not required that somebody has to buy a lot of hardware that is probably not going to be used. Then there was also improved resource management, right? Improved resource management. So virtualization enabled better resource allocation, load balancing, and failover capability. Okay. Then there was also reduced hardware dependency. So organizations could now deploy application and services more flexibly without being tied to specific physical server. Right. So these were things that were made possible by virtualization. So after virtualization came, that was when cloud computing was what was bettered, building up on the technology called what virtualization. So now, since we could put multiple things, we could virtualize multiple operating systems, we could virtualize, maybe we have just one. Remember, virtualization allows you to virtualize things. So, okay, I have one storage device, right? That is 1 terabyte, and all of my data is 200 gig, right? So it's now possible, thanks to virtualization, that I say, oh, 200 gig is going to be used by Emmanuel. Another 200 gig is going to be used by Zainab. Another 200 gig is going to be used by Grace. Another 200 gig is going to be used by Blessing. And none of our data is going to collide. This is made possible by virtualization. I hope you understand. To Contrary to before, where Emmanuel has to get his own storage device, Zainab has to get her own storage device, Grace has to get her own storage device. No, with virtualization, it was now possible to virtually share just one resource, virtually share just one hard disk, virtually share just one storage device for multiple people. So since it was possible to start sharing things virtually, and none of them were going to collide, we came about the technology. Cloud technology was what was bettered. Okay, so what exactly, how cloud computing emerged as a revolutionary paradigm, right? Building on the foundation of virtualization and the internet. Remember that the internet made it possible for people to access anything anywhere in the world, right? And then virtualization made it possible that we can actually share one resource for multiple things, one resource across multiple people, right? So this was some key milestone in the birth of cloud computing includes internet expansion, right? So cloud computing was made possible because internet was what was growing. So there was the widespread availability and increasing speed of the internet made remote access to resources flexible. So now, since it is possible for me to reach any system anywhere thanks to the internet, and it is also possible for me to what to share my own storage device among multiple people, thanks to what to virtualization. So cloud, now what is cloud? Cloud is just, oh, Zainab is in her own house, she has some data that she does not have hard disks to keep, right? So since Emmanuel has hard disks that is not using, oh, and there's internet that can help Zainab reach Emmanuel, cloud just made it. But cloud is just, oh, Zainab will now say, this data, oh, I'm sending you over to Emmanuel's hard disk. Whenever I need you, I will just remotely access you from my house. Okay, so I hope everything is making more sense now. Then we have web services and API. So the development of web services and API facilitated the integration of application and services over the internet. This is very straightforward. Then utility computing. So the idea of providing computing resources as a utility like electricity and water became popular, laying the ground for cloud computing. So now remember I said that cloud computing is not just restricted to storage. So the same way it is possible for me to carry my data from my house and store it in Zainab's system, in Zainab's house, it is also possible that, oh, I might need a system, but I don't want to purchase it. Emmanuel has two systems in his house, one of which he is not using. It is possible for him, it is possible for me to reach the system through the internet, right? So what will I just do? I will just tell Emmanuel, I'll be paying you 5,000 naira every month, and then you just turn on the system for me, and I'll be remotely accessing it from my house. Just the same way we pay for electricity, just the same way we pay for water, to the water in the water board. Okay. Yeah. Now, characteristics of cloud computing. So, cloud computing brought several transformative characteristics. So, now it's brought about what we call on demand self service, right? So, users can provision and manage computing resources without human interaction from service provider. Okay, so it is now possible now that, oh, instead of me going to the market to go and buy a storage device, right? If I buy a storage device, it's I have to put into mind that, oh, I have to make sure that this water doesn't get into this storage device. I have to make sure that this storage device doesn't get corrupt and everything, right? That's a lot of work on me, right? But now, thanks to the virtualization, it is possible for somebody like Zainab to buy a storage device, do all the work that has to do with maintaining it and every other thing. And then she will just say, oh, since I can virtualize space, Emmanuel, oh, I can virtualize 200 gigabytes worth of space, and then I will allocate this to you. If you need more, I could also give you more, but then you just know that, oh, you'll be paying me X amount of money every month, X amount of money every year for you to be able to use this storage space. Okay. So now, if I need it, I don't have to go to the market. I don't have to do the hassle of trying to get storage device. I'll just call Zainab. Zainab, what's up? I need space. Give me space, and then she will do it from my own end, and then I will have that space available to me. Right? Then next is what? Broad network access. Okay. Right? So we have broad network access. So resources are accessible over the internet from various devices. That means if I want to get a lap, if I want to get an operating system, instead of me to go and buy a laptop, it is possible for me to just talk to somebody that has this already in their environment, and then they will give it to me, and then I can access it from anywhere I want in the world. Okay, there's also resource pooling, right? So providers use multi-tenant models to pool computing resources, serving multiple customers with the same physical hardware. Just like I explained, right? You don't have to buy multiple things for multiple people. Thanks to virtualization, I can buy just one thing, and then I'll use virtualization technology to share it across these multiple individuals. Okay. Then there's also rapid elasticity. So resources can be quickly scaled up or down to meet demand, providing flexibility and efficiency. Now, since I'm not buying physical hardware, right? So before I might have, let's say I buy, like I said, maybe I'm using 1 terabyte of storage, and then at the end of the day, I end up using what? I end up using maybe 300 gigabytes of that storage device. That means 700, about 700 gigabytes is not being used, right? So that is one thing. It is thanks to cloud now, you can only pay for what you need. So I could just say, oh, Zainab, I'm only going to pay you for 300 gig, right? And if that 300 gig is full, if I was using physical storage device, right, and my 1 terabyte is full, the next thing I have to do is to go to the store or go to the market and then get another one, right? That's a lot of work, right? But then if I'm using cloud, right, I could just call Zainab, oh, Zainab, my 300 gig is full. Please quickly give me 100 gig, and then it will happen almost immediately. You get? So it is very fast, it is very rapid. You get? And then there's also measured services. So usage is metered, allowing users to pay only for the resource they consume. You get, so still on the same example I gave, right? That, oh, if I'm using 1 terabyte and I have 1 terabyte, but out of that 1 terabyte, I'm only using 300 gig. That means about 700 gig is wasting. That means that money is wasted. But thanks to cloud, now I can just say, oh, this is what I need. So this is what I'm paying for. Okay. So yes, now the next thing we'll be talking about is cloud models. So we already established that, think of cloud as resource being available remotely for you to use. So let's say, for example, I need a Windows system, right? I could just go to providers like Amazon, go to their website, and I say, oh, give me a Windows operating system, right? When they give me the Windows operating system, I can now connect to it from anywhere in the world. From anywhere in the world, right? So it has to do with networking device. Anything can be virtualized. So it could be operating system, it could be storage, it could be VPN, it could be networking device. Anything in IT can now be virtualized. So that means it is not just storage space. If I need a new computer, I can get it from the cloud, and then that computer, now I only pay for what I need. Oh, if that my computer, and I can now say, oh, I need 16 gig of RAM, I need 250 gig of storage, and then they will allocate that to me. I need 4 processors, and they will allocate that to me. So whenever I want to use the system, I will just remotely connect to the system, and then I will be able to use that system as a physical system. You understand? Oh, if I need storage space, maybe I need somewhere I can be storing my data to make sure that, oh, should in case any of my device gets stolen, I can still pull it from that place. I'll just go and meet them. Oh, I need storage space. Give me storage space. And when they give me the storage space, I'll pay for it, right? And then whenever I need the data, I can put it. And whenever I want to store something, I'll store it there. Whenever I need the data, I can easily download it back to my system. Now we have different models used for cloud service. We have different models used for cloud service, right? Oh, thank you very much. S3, yeah. So cloud service, cloud computing offers several service models. So we have several service models, each providing a different level of control, flexibility, and management. Right. So these models are designed to cater to a wide range of businesses or technical needs. So the three primary service models are infrastructure as a service, IaaS, platform as a service, IaaS, and software as a service. Okay, so let's look at them one after the other. So infrastructure as a service, IaaS, right, provide virtualized computing resources over the internet. You get, so it offers fundamental building blocks of computing, such as what, virtual machines, storage, and network. So the infrastructure as a service is in layman terms is giving you an infrastructure, right? So I rent out an infrastructure to you as a service. So it's just like me saying, okay, oh, I have Windows 10 over here. You can always come and use it, but then you have to pay me whenever you use this Windows system. Okay. Then next we have the key features of infrastructure as a service. We have virtual machines. So in infrastructure as a service, a user can create and manage virtual machines with specific configuration. Configuration includes CPU, memory, and storage, right? The storage is scalable and flexible, right? Scalable and flexible storage solution, including block storage, object storage, and file storage. So what this is saying is, oh, like your own system now, right? It might be hard for most of us to say, I want to increase my processor number, my processor count, right? Maybe your system has just 4 processors. If you need more processor, you might have to change your system. You get, for some of us, maybe your system has 8 gigs of RAM. If you need more RAM, you might have to get more system, but no, it's not like that in the cloud. In IaaS, that is infrastructure as a service, you can easily rent more, you can easily buy more of these resources. You can easily buy more of these resources you get. So, oh, maybe if your storage is full, you can just say, oh, give me more storage. If your memory, that is your RAM, right, is not enough, you can easily say, give me more RAM. If your CPU is not enough, you can just say, give me more CPU. You understand? So the same apply to networking. So configurable network options, right, including virtual network, load balancers, and firewall. So all these things are available for us to use remotely. Scalability, user can easily scale resources up or down, right? So maybe at some point you need maybe at some point you needed 16 gigs of RAM, but when you are done with a task, right, and then you no longer need so much computing power, so you can just say, okay, I'm no longer using 16 gig of RAM, so please just give me 8 gigs of RAM, and that is the only thing I'm paying for, which is contrary to what we are doing, right? If you have a physical system, if your system is 16 gig of RAM, even if you are only using 4 gigs of that RAM, that means the remaining 12 gig is wasting, and there's nothing you can do about it. You get? Then it is also pay as you go. So user only pay for the resources they consume without upfront investment in hardware. All right. So benefit of IaaS, right? It helps us to save money. So there's cost saving, reducing the need for purchasing and maintaining physical hardware. So everything that has to do with maintaining the physical hardware is none of your business. That's the cloud service provider business. There's also flexibility, like we've explained, right? It allows users to choose operating system, development environment, and application. So you can change things as much as you want. You can set things to your taste, right? Then there's control. You have control, right? IaaS provide a high level of control over the infrastructure suitable for complex and customized applications. So you have full control of the system. So you can tweak things around, you can make sure things suit your taste, right? If you want to customize things to your complex need, you can also do that. Okay. Then example of IaaS, right? We have Google Compute Engine from GCP, right, which offers virtual machines, persistent storage, and networking, right? Then we have Amazon EC2, right? Okay, so we have GCP, right, which offers scalable virtual machines, persistent storage, and networking, right? Then we have Amazon EC2, that is from AWS, right? So on AWS it's called EC2. On Google GCP it's called Google Compute Engine. On Microsoft Azure it is called Microsoft Azure Virtual Machine. So this is what these guys call their various IaaS. Okay. Next we have PaaS, right? That is platform as a service. Okay. All right. So, platform as a service provides a platform that allows developers to build, deploy, and manage applications without dealing with the underlying infrastructure. Okay. So, now think of it that, oh, IaaS, they give you a system virtually. That means think of it as, oh, I have a remote computer somewhere that I can always use whenever I want to. Platform as a service now, majorly think of it from the context of developers. This is majorly used for by developers, right? Maybe they need a platform, right, where they can host their application that they are going to build, the applications they are building, or the application that they want to deploy for people to use. This is being handled by platform as a service. Okay. Now, key features of platform as a service. So one is what? Development tools. So it allows to set up development tools, right? So integrated development environment, version control, and collaboration tools. We have middleware, which are softwares that connect different components of an application, such as databases and web application. Database management, right? Manage database services with automated backup and sharing. Then we have application hosting, environments to deploy and run application with built-in scalability, APIs, and services. Yeah. Then we have API and services, right? Pre-built APIs and services for common functionalities like authentication, messaging, and data processing. So these are the features of platform as a service. Now, what are the benefits of PaaS? Yes, Florence, platform as a service. Right? So what are the benefits of PaaS? Right? Increased productivity, right? So developers can focus on writing code without worrying about infrastructure management. So before now, maybe a developer wants to do something, they have to first set up their environment, and maybe if it's like 10 developers, we can have maybe 10 developers setting up 10 different environments. But with platform as a service now, somebody can just maybe somebody can just set up an environment and set up a platform, then the different developers can now connect to that central one, right? Remember that it is remotely accessible from anywhere, right? So these developers can connect to it and do what they want to do. So it saves them time, it increases their productivity, then reduces time to market, right? So since they are just setting it up in one central location, so things will be done more rapidly. So it accelerates the development and deployment process. Scalability, automatically scale application based on demand, right? So just like we said before, right? Oh, maybe if you want to upgrade, you have to go and look for the physical hardware. You have to get the physical hardware, then you can upgrade. But now, since it's possible for you to request for an upgrade immediately, that means scalability is very much possible. Then it's also cost efficient. Cost efficiency, right? It eliminates the need for purchasing and managing underlying hardware and software. Very straightforward. Okay, so examples of PaaS. So we have for GCP, we have Google Engine, Google App Engine, right? For AWS, we have AWS Elastic Beanstalk. For Microsoft Azure, we have Microsoft Azure App Service. So, okay, I know some of us, I just remember that we have like some very, very beginner level persons on this in these sessions with us. So GCP is like Google's cloud service. So Google has their own cloud service, right? So Google is like a vendor that offers cloud services to people. So that one is called GCP. Then Amazon also has their own, which is known as AWS. Microsoft also have their own cloud service, which is known as Microsoft Azure. So on these different platforms now, when you want to use PaaS, they have different names for it. So on Google, it is called Google App Engine. On Amazon, it is called AWS Elastic Beanstalk. On Microsoft Azure, it is called Microsoft Azure App Service. Okay. Yeah. Then finally, we have SaaS. I mean SaaS, right? There's a lot of SaaS talk around. So SaaS delivers software applications over the internet. So I mean, right now it's almost everything, almost all software that we have to use. that we have to use locally on our system is available through the internet, is available through our browser, right? So even Photoshop is now available, has a web UI. So that's an example of SaaS, right? Even Microsoft Office Suite, right? We now have Office 365. We now have Google Doc. So instead of having it physically on your system, you can just go to your browser, log into your account, and remotely use it from anywhere in the world, whether on your phone, on your laptop, wherever it is. So SaaS delivers software applications over the internet. So remember, IaaS delivers infrastructure over the internet, PaaS delivers platform over the internet. Then SaaS delivers what? Software. So softwares that you have to install locally on your system. Thanks to cloud, you can now use them via your web browser. You can use them from anywhere, from any device. So users can use the software without worrying about installation, without worrying about maintenance, or without worrying about infrastructure, right? So infrastructure, okay, maybe a software is only accessible, if software is only available for Mac user, it is not available for Windows user. All those problems has been solved by SaaS. So regardless of your Okay, guys, I sincerely apologize for the glitches. For the glitch rather. Okay, please, can you confirm if you can hear me, please? Okay. All right, guys, please, can you confirm if you can hear me? All right, thank you very much, Boss Eddie. Okay. All right, yes, I'm back, Tony. Thank you very much. Okay. So we stopped at software as a service, right? Right. So SaaS, SAS, software as a service, delivers software applications over the internet, right? Accessible via the browser. Users can use the software without worrying about installation, maintenance, or infrastructure, right? So I believe I explained this before I got disconnected, right? So okay. So if we look at the key features of software as a service, right? It is hosted applications, right? So unlike IaaS and PaaS, where we are hosting um, platforms, where we are hosting infrastructures, right, like operating system, storage device, and the like. For software as a service, we established already that we are hosting a software, right? Maybe just like we have Canva, right? So we have a lot of people using Canva from anywhere in the world, from any device in the world, right? So the application software applications are hosted and managed by the service provider. So unlike before where you have to install the software locally on your system, right? And then you are in charge of maintenance, you're in charge of updates, you're in charge of how the application looks and stuff like that. Most of these things, most of these features which I've just mentioned, right, are controlled by the software vendor, right? So they are hosted, the application is hosted and managed by the service provider, right? It is web-based access, right? So it is accessible through your web browser, eliminating the need for local installation, right? Then automatic updates, right? So the provider handles updates, patches, and maintenance. So you don't have to update the software from time to time as you would in your local system, right? Then it is also subscription based pricing, right? So unlike before when you just have to get the software, maybe you buy it and then you pay for it once. Now we are more shifted, now we are more inclined towards the subscription based pricing system, right? So typically offers on it is typically offered on a subscription basis, often with tier pricing plan, right? Then we have multi-tenancy. So multiple users share the same instance of software with data isolation and security measures in place. So although we all are using Microsoft Office 365, although everybody is using the same Canva, but then there is proper data isolation. So my user account is not clashing with both of these user accounts. You get my user account is not clashing with Adenike's user account. You understand? So everything is properly segmented, data is properly isolated, account data is properly isolated, and the security measures are also put in place to maintain this. Okay, so what are the benefits of software as a service? So one, we have ease of use, right? So simple access to software application without the need for installation or configuration, right? So there are some applications that when you want to use them, they can be a pain, right? It can be very painful to set them up, right? You don't have to deal with all that problem again. The only thing you need is internet access and a browser, right? Once you have internet access and a browser, you can remotely access this software from anywhere. It is also cost effective, right? So no upfront cost for software license or infrastructure. So unlike before when you have to pay a lot of money to be able to access some softwares, now you have to pay as you go as far. Now you pay as low as maybe $2, you pay as low as $5 and the likes, right? It is also very scalable. So scalability, easy scale, easily scales the number of user or features based on need. So let's use Office 365 as an example, right? It is possible for me to give access to somebody and we both are editing the same document at the same time. We both are working on the same document at the same time. So it is very scalable. It's possible to bring multiple persons to use to work on the same document, right? Unlike before, I can't bring three or more persons to come and work on the same document from my laptop, right? It will not be organized, right? It won't be the most sensible. Then accessibility, right? You can access application from anywhere with an internet connection, right? So it doesn't matter if your computing device is with you or not, right? Maybe on your phone you can access the same software, on your computer you can still access the same software, right? And even if you travel out of town, if you travel out of city, if you travel out of country, you can still access this thing from any device as long as you remember your login credential, right? So yeah, so example of software as a service, we have Google Workspace, formerly known as G Suite, right? So we have Google Workspace, we have Salesforce, right? We have Microsoft Office 365. So these are like very popular ones that we know about. All right. So we are going to compare these various service model, and then we are going to take some questions before we proceed to the next part of this lesson. So we have things like control, right? So for when it comes to control, you have high control in infrastructure as a service, right? You dictate what the infrastructure looks like. You dictate things like the RAM. You dictate things like the processor. You dictate things like like the memory, things like the storage, right? For platform as a service, in relation to infrastructure as a service, your control is at medium level. Then for software as a service, in relation to infrastructure as a service, your control is very, very low. So you can't dictate what the application is going to look like. You can't dictate when you want the software to be updated, right? So things like this get put in place by the software vendor, right? Then we have customization. For customization, it is still the same. Customization is high for infrastructure as a service. For platform as a service, it is medium. For software as a service, it is low. You do not have control of what the software application is going to look like. Then for management, um, for infrastructure as a service, it is user managed virtual machines, operating systems, and application. For platform as a service, provider manages the platform and the infrastructure, while and for software as a service, provider manages everything. So the user does not have to disturb his or herself with anything pertaining managing the software application. For scalability, it is high across board, right? Scalability is high across board. Now, setup time for infrastructure as a service, it is medium, right? So it requires some level of setup and configuration. For platform as a service, it is fast, right? What you just need to do is get your development environment, and then you can get your developers to start working on the application as soon as possible. While for software as a service, it is very, very fast. All you need to do is what? Set up an account with the platform, and you are good to go. Now, when it comes to cost structure, right? For infrastructure as a service, it is being operated more with pay as you go, right? For with the pay as you go model for the infrastructure or resources. For platform as a service, it is also the same. It is pay as you go for platform services. While mostly for software as a service, we have a lot more of subscription based model. Yes, so that is it for comparison of these various models. So any question, guys, before we move to cloud development models? Please, I would love to take your question now, even as we proceed. Okay. I want to believe everything is pretty much clear and straightforward. But let me hear, guys. Do you have any question? All right. Thank you very much, Tony. Tony says it's very clear. Okay. Victoria, PAS stand. is short for platform as a service. Platform as a service. So let me go back to my slide. Yeah, so platform as a service. Okay, beautiful question. Obinwinim, what about cyber threat? So we are getting to that. Yeah, we first have to understand how the platform works, what brought about cloud computing before we start talking about the cybersecurity risks of the cloud, right? Before we start looking at threats, we start looking at how we can actually get access to systems we are not supposed to get access to. Okay, all right. So Oluwafemi, I do see save on cloud while using WPS app on Android. Is that yes? That is an example of cloud, right? So your data will be stored remotely on their infrastructure. So it's not stored locally on your phone. Yeah. So okay, now a question to you, Oluwafemi. So what model do you think this falls under? What model do you think this falls under? So is it platform as a service? Is it software as a service? Or is it infrastructure as a service? Okay, so another question from Oluwafemi. Okay. Yes, that is also an Google Picture is also an example of of using the cloud. Yeah. Okay, Okoli Grace, can you explain further? Can you explain your question further? This is a bit vague. Can somebody modify any of its services? So can you explain? I mean, for platform as a service and for infrastructure as a service, you have full control, right? You can modify things. You are basically setting up the infrastructure, right? So you have full control, right? But most time when it comes to software as a service, right? If we go back to the comparison table that I have here in the slide, you can see that the user has when it comes to customization, right? For infrastructure as a service, it is high. For PAS, it is medium. Then for SAS, it is very, very low, right? Okay. Yes, thank you very much, Oluwafemi. Yes, it is software as a service. Very well said. Very well said. Okay, so I'll just take a few more questions and then 20 minutes past 8, we will just continue with this slide, guys. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome, Oluwafemi. All right, Grace. I'm glad it is. Okay. All right. I will take it that there's no other question, so we can proceed, right? Okay, so Florence is asking a question. Why is it software as a service? Okay, so basically you are using their software. So it's just the software giving you the ability to keep your data with them. Yes, it looks a bit tricky, right? Because if you look at it, you are using storage space. So one might be tempted to say, oh, maybe it is infrastructure as a service. But you are not necessarily the one paying for the infrastructure. What you are doing is you are just paying for the software. It is not the software that is giving you the ability to keep your data with the service provider. Do you understand? Okay. Yeah, yeah. Why not pass? That's a valid question. I think even more valid argument is why is it not IAS, right? Remember that pass is majorly used by developers, right? Yes. I hope this answers your question. Um, All right. Um, Grace, I should talk more on the setup time. Okay, so for setup time, right? If I'm going to be setting up a Windows system on the cloud, right? I will put things like, oh, how many gig RAM do I want to allocate in for the system, right? I will consider things like what's the RAM, what is the memory space going to look like? That's the RAM. What is the storage space going to look like? That's the ROM. What is the processor? How many processor am I going to allocate to the system? Then you start putting things consideration like, okay, since it's in the cloud now, this infrastructures are hosted in different parts of the world. So I might want to consider the data center that is closest to me. Maybe, okay, am I going to be choosing what region am I going to be choosing? Is it going to be maybe South Africa? Is it going to be the United States? Is it going to be the UAE? You get, so that is a lot of things I have to consider, right? And then I have to make settings for, I have to make configurations for this, right? So it's going to relatively, it's going to take more time. Now, if I'm going to be doing this for pass, right? It's pass is not going to take me as much time because there's already a platform. All I need to do is to just make a few settings to make sure that my developers can come to work in this particular environment. Now, when we talk about SaaS, right? Software as a service, right? Using Office 365 as an example, I'm not setting up on anything basically. The only thing I'm doing is I'm creating an account with Microsoft and then I'm making a payment. After that, they give me access to Microsoft Office Suite, right? I can now use Word on the cloud. I can now use Excel on the cloud. I can now use PowerPoint on the cloud. So I hope this answers your question. Okay, Adebiye. All right. Okay. No, 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 no. That's not exactly what I said. So I said IaaS, right, means remote infrastructure, right? Infrastructure such as computing device, maybe Windows system, maybe a Linux system, right? Or maybe infrastructure such as a network infrastructure in the context of storage space, you guessed, that is infrastructure as a service. Now, when we talk of platform as a service, it is like an environment being made available for you. An environment in the sense, think of it in the context of developers, right? If a developer wants to work on an application, right, they need to set up an environment where they can develop and deploy their application. So they need an environment. So it's not a server that they need. It's not necessarily a server that they need. They need an environment that they can carry out their development to get. And let's say for also for an example of this is let's say platforms that allows you to host your websites, right? So you've worked on a website, you want to make this website available to every other person from anywhere in the world, right? If you meet platforms that allow you to host your website, the only thing you have to do is give your website to them and then they make it available to people, right? At high level, right? That's what it looks like. Okay, so you're not getting a server, you're just getting a platform that you can put your website and then it can be accessible to anybody anywhere in the world. Then software as a service is not your web browser. You use your web browser to access the software. You understand? You use your browser to access the software from the vendor. All right. Um okay, Grace, I believe I've done justice to explaining the setup time. Okay. Okay, so Adebi, is this clear? Is it clear now? Is my explanation clear enough? Okay, so I believe we can move forward. Okay, so deployment models, right? So cloud deployment models defines the type of access we have to the cloud. Okay, so how it is managed and the nature of the infrastructure. Okay, so these models cater to different organizational needs and preference regarding control, security, and scalability. The primary cloud deployment model are public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and community cloud. Okay, so primary cloud deployment model is public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and community cloud. So what a whole lot of us are familiar with is the public cloud, right? As popular public cloud, we have AWS, we have GCP, we have Microsoft Azure, right? Then we also have private cloud, we also have hybrid cloud and community cloud, which we'll be looking more into as we proceed. Okay, so for public, right, public cloud are owned and operated by third-party cloud providers, right, delivering computing resources over the internet to multiple customers, right. So these resources are shared among all their customers. So it is a multi-tenant environment. Okay. Now, key features of public cloud: scalability, cost-effective, maintenance, and accessibility. So it is highly scalable and it is highly scalable, right? And there's also high elasticity to handle various workload, right? Now, for cost, right, there is no capital expenditure, so you only pay for what you are using on the cloud, right? For maintenance, every aspect of maintenance is carried out by the cloud service provider, so you don't have to disturb yourself. The only thing is, I need my resource whenever I need my resource. I don't care about, oh, is there lights, is there electricity, is there internet where the cloud is. That's none of my business, right? Then accessibility, right? The service is accessible over the internet from any device, whether I'm using a Mac, whether I'm using a Windows, whether I'm using a Linux system, whether I'm using a mobile phone. It doesn't matter. I can always have access to the service for public cloud. Okay. Now, benefits includes reduced cost, flexibility, reliability, and global reach. I believe every of this is self-explanatory. So let's just quickly skip. Now, although public cloud is great, but we must keep in mind that there are certain challenges that are associated with the public cloud. So we have things such as security and compliance, right? So data is stored off premises, raising concern about data security and regulatory compliance. Okay, so am Emmanuel, right? And I'm a Nigerian based in Nigeria, right? My data might be stored in the United States of America. My data might be stored in Israel. My data might be stored in South Africa. My data might be stored anywhere in the world. Now, since my data is being stored anywhere in the world, then there's a matter of what? There's an issue regarding security and compliance. So now we have been talking about this a from end user perspective. Now let's bring the conversation now to organizational level, right? To the organization level. So as an organization, right, we've seen there are cases where as an organization you might not be allowed to store your users' data in certain jurisdiction. You might not be allowed to store your users' data in certain parts of the world. You understand? So let's say, for example, we all know what is happening right now between Israel and Iran, right? So let's say you are a tech company that is working based in Israel, right? And you are serving your customers are predominantly Israelis, right? The country for your business to be able to work in Israel, right? Although cloud is a good option for you, right? Because of the country where your company is predominant, it might not be wise for you to store your users' data in a server that is physically present in Iran. You understand? So let's say for things like that, if the country should find out that you are storing its citizens' data in an enemy nation, then you might be penalized for that. You understand? Then also there's limited customization. So there's less control over the infrastructure and customization options compared to private cloud. Okay. So example of public cloud, we have GCP, right? That is the Google Service Cloud Platform, AWS, that is Amazon Web Service, and Microsoft Azure. This is what most of us are familiar with. Now, we also have private cloud. Now, a private cloud is a cloud environment that is dedicated to a single organization, right? Offering greater control and security. It can be managed internally or by a third party provider, and can be hosted on prem or off prem. Now remember that from the build up that we the build up we did earlier on, right? We said, oh, before it was on-prem servers, right? And then virtualization came about, and then, oh, it's now possible for us to virtualize computer hardware, right? And then we have the internet, right, making it possible to access any resource remotely from any part of the world. Now it is possible for my organization, right? Maybe organization the name of my organization is Jesus Boy, right? JesusBoy.com. Now, for my organization JesusBoy.com, since I stay in Abuja, right, it is possible for my organization JesusBoy.com to set up our cloud infrastructure in Lagos, Nigeria, right? Now, we can always remotely get any data or any resource that is present on that cloud infrastructure. Now, the setup of that cloud infrastructure, the maintenance of that cloud infrastructure, everything that has to do with that cloud infrastructure is being managed by us. You get that means this cloud infrastructure is not gotten from where? It's not gotten from AWS, it is not gotten from GCP, it is not gotten from Microsoft Azure. Everything is properly managed by us. You get that means it is only our data that is being stored on this cloud infrastructure. You get that means the only set of persons that will be able to access this will be staffs of the organization JesusBoy.com. Okay, so I believe that is clear. Key features of private cloud, we have dedicated infrastructure. So the resources are exclusively used by a single organization. So the cloud infrastructure is set up by the organization. So the use of this cloud infrastructure is what is exclusive to the organization alone. Customization, since I am the one setting up the cloud infrastructure for my organization, that means I can customize it as much as I want. You get, which is quite different from what is available in public cloud, right? In public cloud, everything is being handled, everything is being set up by GCP, that is Google, everything is being set up by maybe Microsoft Azure or AWS. That means they are the one in charge of the customization and everything. But for private cloud, I am the one handling all of this, right? So there's high level of customization, right, done to meet the specific business and security required. That means I can tailor everything to my need. Then there's also control. So there's a greater control over data, right? There's a greater control over security policy and compliance. Okay. Now, benefit of private cloud, right? It has enhanced security. So it is an isolated environment dedicated resources providing stronger security control since it is isolated, right? But okay, this will probably bring an argument, right? We can't just assume that a system is secure because it is isolated, right? But that's story for another day. Then there's also compliance, right? It is easier to meet regulatory and compliance requirements due to greater control over data. So since I have full control over my data, right? I have full control over where the data is being stored, right? I have full control over where I want the data to be stored, right? So I can easily meet compliance, right? Then there's also performance. So dedicated resources can lead to improved performance for specific application. Okay. Now, for challenges, right, for the private cloud, number one is definitely cost, right? The first one is definitely cost. So there's higher initial capital expenditure, right, and ongoing operational costs of hardware, maintenance, and management, right? So since I'm the one setting up the cloud infrastructure, right, if I'm going to be setting up the cloud infrastructure, it's going to be a whole lot of money, right? Now, not just setting it up, maintenance. For me to maintain this cloud infrastructure, I also have to spend money on expertise, right? I need to make sure I get the right set of professionals to be able to maintain this thing, to be able to make sure that, oh, the bad guys cannot get into my system, right? And also its management. Then finally we have scalability, right? Just like the example we gave earlier on, right? Scalability. Now, since you are the one in charge of the cloud infrastructure, whenever there's going to be maybe an increment or decrement in the hardware, right, you have to get the resource, right? So there's limited scalability compared to public cloud. So scaling up requires additional investment in hardware. Okay, so that is it for private cloud. So I'll just take a few questions before we move to the other deployment model. So okay, so Damisa, I should go over public cloud, right? Okay, let me do that quickly. Okay, so public clouds are owned and operated by third-party cloud service providers, right? Delivering computational resources over the internet. So everything is being managed by a third party, right? And it is made public, right? It is made available rather to the public. You understand? So a very good example is what we have, right? That is AWS, Amazon, I'm sorry, AWS, Azure, and GCP. So this organization set up this server and then they make it available to anybody anywhere in the world to put their data, to set up system or to develop their system. You get. Now, it is being used by thousands or millions or even billions of persons. Now, for private cloud, it is set up by an individual. It is set up by an organization and it is only going to be used by that individual. It is only going to be used by that organization. Yeah. All right. So I hope this answers your question, Damisa. Let me know if your question has been answered. Okay. And any other question, guys? Any other question? Yes, thank you very much, Grace. Yes, Microsoft is an example of public cloud. Yes, very true. That is Microsoft Azure. Okay, so I will take the silence to mean there's no other question. So that means we can continue. Okay, so next is hybrid cloud. So now a hybrid cloud combines both public and private cloud, right? So thereby allowing data and applications to be shared between them. So this model provides greater flexibility and optimization of existing infrastructure. So most time we have hybrid cloud for organizations, right, that have on-prem servers and they are trying as much as possible to integrate it with the cloud. They are trying as much as possible to integrate it with public cloud, right? So maybe your organization has large servers in the server room. They have a lot of data there, right? And they don't want to get more hardware because they need to scale things. So okay, they decided to opt for the cloud, right? They decided to get to pay for the cloud, right? Then they store informations that they can on the cloud, but still yet they have some other more sensitive information on the on-prem servers. You get, so this model provide greater flexibility and optimization of existing infrastructure. So okay, we know that we don't need to incur more cost from our existing infrastructure. So we just get a cloud service provider to provide us with cloud services, right? And then we pay for just the resource we need from them. So key features of hybrid cloud, we have interoperability, right? So seamless integration between public and private cloud environment. So it is very easy to integrate what you have in your local environment with the cloud, right? Then we have data mobility, right? Which is the ability to move workloads and data between cloud based on needs and policies. So remember the example I gave between Israel and Iran, who two countries that are currently fighting, right? So okay, as an organization, I need my server to be in Iran. Okay, but then I need space from cloud from Iran, right? But then what I will just do to handle the matter is that I am going to keep private and sensitive data in server on servers which are physically in Israel, right? And then maybe non-sensitive data, non-sensitive information I can now put on servers in Iraq. You get, okay? Then there's optimized resources, right? Um, It utilizes public cloud for scalability and private cloud for sensitive workload. So whatever it's the information that is very sensitive, I keep in the private environment, the private cloud. But information that okay, I know no, it's not going to raise any compliance issue, right? It's not going to raise any compliance issue. I can now keep in the public cloud. Okay. Then there's flexibility, right? So hybrid cloud leverage the benefit of both public and private cloud. It is cost. Then we have cost efficiency, right? It optimizes cost by using the public cloud for less sensitive and scalable workload, right? So instead of getting more hardware, instead of incurring more cost by getting more servers, right? I can just easily subscribe or pay a relatively smaller amount of money to I can pay relatively smaller amount of money to a public cloud service provider. Then there's disaster recovery. So improve disaster recovery and business continuity by distributing workflow. So it is easy. It's also possible if I'm using a hybrid model, right, to replicate my data on prem and on the cloud. So if there's any issue with my server that is on prem, I know that I have backup in the cloud. And this backup I can always pull as soon as possible whenever I need it, right? So and also if the cloud is having downtime, I know that I still have my on-prem servers that is going to give me access to my data. Okay. Next, we are going to be looking at some challenges. So, um, first challenge is complexity, right? So, managing and integrating multiple cloud environments can be complex. It can be complex to integrate these different cloud service together. It can be different. It can be difficult. It can be complex to integrate public cloud with private cloud. Then there's also security. Now, ensuring consistent security policy and compliance across different environments can also be challenging. So it can be challenging to maintain consistent security compliance. It can be challenging, right, to maintain consistent security policy across the public and the private cloud. Okay, so I will take a few questions now. So I have a question from Ivy. So, which is more secure, on-prem servers or cloud storage? Um, it's relative, right? It is relative, right? So I can't say that on-prem is more secure than cloud, right? In because the security of on-prem servers is heavily reliant on the organization, is heavily reliant on the IT staff in that particular organization. So you get right. Okay. So any other question before we proceed? Okay. So Oluwafemi, can an individual buy any of the cloud models? Okay, or it is only sold to companies? I mean, if you can pay, definitely you get the service. If you can pay for it, right? If you can pay for it, but then there's no need for you to get certain cloud model as an individual, right? Because they are not useful to you, and they are quite expensive. Okay. So example of hybrid cloud, right? Example of hybrid cloud. Okay, I can't give you a name, right? Because this is mostly employed by organizations. You get so this is mostly employed by organizations. So, like I said, organizations that have on-prem servers, right, that want to scale, but then they don't want to inquire more costs. They don't want to inquire the cost of getting more servers, right? So, yeah, but I can't give you name. I can't tell you, oh, organization ABC is using hybrid cloud. Yeah. Yes, yes, Onye Consular, yes, there are security measures put in place to ensure the security of data. So that is what we will be looking at. Yes, that's what we'll be looking at as we continue in the session, right? As we continue in the session, we'll be looking at how to make sure that data that is being stored in the cloud is properly secure, right? So the settings, the configuration, and everything is done properly. Yeah, that is our job. That's what we'll be looking at. So there is a four sense of security, right? Let me just put this out. There's this four sense of security that we've noticed that individuals and organization easily have, because they just assume that, oh, because I'm using cloud, I am 100% secure, right? It's not like that. So there are still some settings we have to put in place to make sure that the cloud infrastructure is properly secure, right? Okay, I mean, cloud can be used by individual. Hybrid cloud can be used by individual. So, or maybe I have some data in my local system, but I want to um maybe I want to have I choose to have a backup on the cloud. So you can think of that in the context of as an example. Sorry, you can think of that as an example of no. Sorry, I was saying rubbish. No. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. But I believe individuals can have hybrid cloud. But the same question, right? I'm still going to ask the same question. Why do you want to inquire such cost as an individual, right? It can be quite pricey. You get the whole essence of cloud, right? Is cloud computing is um, paying for just what you need. Paying for just what you need. Yes. So, I mean, from the explanation we've done, just to blame solar, cloud is not necessarily some stuff in the sky, right? Cloud is just some servers that are available right? In some other location that we can get to using the internet, you get. So when we are talking of cloud, right, maybe I'm using a cloud server. That cloud server might be maybe some a set of server that is available in let's say Sokoto, right? Maybe it's just a set of server that is available in let's say South Africa, right? Maybe a set of servers that is available in Russia. You get. There are still physical systems. The only thing is I can now remotely access them from Nigeria. Yes, thank you very much, Sandra. Thank you very much, Sandra. Yes, thank you for helping me properly explain it. Okay, any other question, guys? Yes, well said, Sandra. Well said. Yes. Good evening, sir. Okay. So if there's no other question, guys, I think we will just take a break, take a stop here today till the next time we meet. So I want to believe we've learned a couple of things today about cloud computing. All right. Thank you very much, Mubolaji. Thank you very much, Mubolaji. Yeah. All right. All right. Lovely, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I'll see you guys on Thursday, right? So thank you very much. Please have a good night's rest. And yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, guys. So thank you.